Hey Omar, good morning. How are you, sir? Holler. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Eric. Chat's already popping. I commend you for being awake at 10:30. Week 5. Week 5 of non-traditional instruction. Living the dream. Eric was up 2 hours ago. Eric's been up since 8:30. I got to sleep in this morning. I went to, or I woke up at 7, which is nice. This kid slept through the night. Some good sleep. I like it. I still have a poor relationship with sleep, though. I don't appreciate it like I ought to. That's why I'm on cup of coffee number 2. But I won't get any more than that. Imagine. Oh, hold on. This message is held for review. Omar, I think your message was held for review because it has an emoji in it. So there we go. I have now shared it with the world. Played some games last night. I still kind of have like a dent in my hair from the headset. Just lasts a really long time. See if we can get it out of there. Alright, we'll wait a couple more minutes, then we'll get started. It's going to be a light crew today, maybe. Only 3 people here. 3's a crowd. You have to keep each other entertained. Imagine calling this thing. I hear a lot of movement upstairs and people talking about something being in the driveway, so hard to know. Maybe it's Publishers Clearinghouse and they're bringing us a $2 million check. That'd be good. I'd like that. What would you do with $2 million? There's a good question to start off our live lecture at 10:34. What would you do with $2 million right now? No judgment. It's a judgment-free zone. What would you do? Half aside for savings, the other half I have no idea. That's pretty good. That's a good plan. Half aside for savings is good. Straight up, put all of it in the bank. You want to put that in some taxable investments. The bank's not going to earn you enough interest, man. Not enough interest. You need that interest. You'd have to buy something. I'd buy a different car. I'd get something else than a Kia Optima. You buy a wig and change your name? Okay. Alright, well it's 10:36 now, so I'm late. Okay, AP CSP Live Lecture 4, NTI Week 5. Please chat if you're here. If you want a really nice wig, maybe you need 2 million, Eric. Alright, here we go. For those of you that aren't in the chat, you won't know what the heck we're talking about. Let's see. Let's go. Goals for this week. You should install and understand how to use Screencastify or whatever video creation method you choose. I'm going to show you how to do that briefly today, but I'll also put out like a little instruction guide. It's very simple. Honestly, you probably don't need the instructions, but I'm going to give them to you anyway. The create task is due in draft form next Friday, May 15th. That is everything that you need for the create task. The video, the written responses, and the code are all due in draft form next Friday, May 15th. And just to remind you, we will all submit everything as final well before May 26th. So probably like May 22nd, we'll have the goal of submitting everything as final. And my idea for that is we can all just get on a Google Meet and kind of do it together. One last hurrah for APCSP. We'll see. But everybody has their create task in right now, which is great. I think there's maybe 4 people that don't have it in. And so that's awesome. On a good track there. You should be starting your written responses this week for your create task. Don't forget you can find the template out on the digital portfolio website for doing that. Or actually, no, you can find the template in the in code.org. Don't use the one on digital portfolio because it's not a Google Doc. Use the one on code.org. And I'll show that briefly in this video, I guess. At this point, your code should be 50 to 75% complete. Yeah. If you haven't started yet, now's the time. You're getting into the danger zone for sure. Let's see. I have 33 cents in my bank account. That's 5 days from us being seen. Yeah, you're going to be seniors very soon. You're going to be seniors very soon. So that's great. Almost there. Beginning of the rest of your life. All right. Google Meet will be right after the lecture. If it's just us 3 brochachos, we might not even do this. But if you guys want to still have the Google Meet, just say yes in the chat, and we'll still do it. Okay. All right. Let's get cracking. The first thing I want to show you is just what I said. I want to show you where you can find the template for your written responses on code.org. Oh, it's my boy Sal Khan. Yes. Sal Khan is doing a code break. I'm going to try to watch that every Wednesday at 10 a.m. I am available at 10 a.m. No, 1 p.m. EST. Oh, I'm not available at 1 p.m. EST. Smacking my coffee mug down on this thing because I'm so upset. All right. What the heck? All right. Create AP performance task. Remember, I assigned this to you, so it's super easy to find this. And here, no, that's not it. It is, I want to say it's here. Yes, template, copy as Google Doc, do this. So you need to go to this guy in lesson 3 and copy that Google Doc over to your doggone Google Drive so you have it available for you. And read the prompts for the responses. Make sure you're under the word count. Make sure you're doing the correct response in the correct place. And I'm also going to show you in this video how to create the PDF so you can draw rectangles and stuff on your code. It's pretty straightforward, but I'll show you. All right, so that's where we will get the Google Doc. And now let's look at Screencastify. So really quick, I have to remove Screencastify from my Chrome so I can show you how it works. Nope. Nope. All right. Let's close some of this up. All right. Screencastify. Google Screencastify. Click on that. Click Add to Chrome. So Screencastify is a Chrome extension. You'll go here. You'll say Add to Chrome. Now, I really encourage you to uninstall Screencastify after you have installed it because it's pretty invasive, I think, for a Chrome extension. So that's really your call if you think you're going to use it again, or if you are more, you trust these folks, that's fine. I really don't know, and that's why I would say uninstall it, because I just don't know what Screencastify is actually collecting of my information. Okay, so there we go. It's been installed, and now you'll have this little icon in the top right corner of your screen. Let me make sure you guys can see. Yeah, okay, you can. All right, so we're going to click on this, and then we need to sign in. Uh-oh. I think because I had it before, it skipped some of the setup steps. I uninstalled it, though. I don't like that either. Well, anyway. Okay. Yeah, so it's still working. It looks like that didn't work out the way I hoped it would. I'm sorry. Basically, when you click on this the first time, when you click this button the first time after installing, it's going to take you through a series of instructions. Okay, it's going to ask you to authorize your stuff. Make sure you're using your JCPS account, so on and so forth. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. You shouldn't need too much instruction on it, but I will provide some written instructions on how to do it, a very quick visual guide on how to get it done, and I'll send that out today or tomorrow. Anyway, once you have it installed, you'll click on this button, and it's going to bring up this little menu. Okay. You can either record a browser tab, a desktop, or from your webcam. Obviously, what you're probably going to be doing is recording your desktop. Okay. You can also enable drawing tools if you want, but you won't need that for the recording itself. But notice it will also capture my voice in the microphone. I can select different microphones here if I have a variety. I've got like 6,000 microphones going on here. But anyway, I'll show you actually how we would make the recording and an example recording once we do our model algorithm. If you have any questions about the recording, go ahead and throw them in the chat. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and get set up for the model algorithm, which is the main thing I wanted to show you today. Okay, I think our font size is good. Yeah, great. All right, give you a minute here to see if there's anything coming in the chat, and then I'll get started on this. Okay, all right, let's do this thing. So what I want to show you is how I would go about thinking about developing this model algorithm, and a pretty simple one that I think you'll be able to understand easily, and that will definitely score on the AP create task. So this would be a fully scoring example for rows 4, 5, and 6. And it's also a student-developed abstraction, which is great. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to simulate a checking account transaction. Of course, this could be a larger part of a bank account type program. And, when I first talked with you all about this task, I said, make sure you think about what your scoring algorithm is going to be, what your complex algorithm is going to be before you get started, so you can kind of work towards that. Or you could start with that and work around it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with that algorithm, and then I'll show you how I would work around it a little bit to kind of make a bigger program. All right, so every bank account has a variety of accounts in it. It has a checking account, right? And that checking account has lots of transactions associated with it. So something that a piece of bank account software is going to include is a method of transaction, right? So I'm going to call this method, or this function at least, account transaction. All right, and we're going to assume that in order to conduct a transaction, we want to know the type of transaction and the amount of the transaction. I'm going to say pass real quick, and I'm going to go add a little note because TX is the same thing as a transaction. I just don't want to type out transaction a bunch. I also don't like saying it now, I've found. Transaction. Anyway, here we go. Now, we're going to make another assumption. We're going to say that we can have two types of transactions on this account. We can have credits and debits. Of course, credits are things that get added to our account. So a deposit of money, like a paycheck, right? And there are also things that can be debited from our account. And those are our purchases, right? Things that deduct money from our checking account. So we'll say if TX type is equal to a credit, well, what would I want to do if I have a credit going to my account? Well, I might say something like, okay, account plus equals TX amount. Yeah, and that, that would work, especially if, I actually had the account up here. I forgot about that. So let's make a constant that's going to hold our checking account value, or not a constant, that's OD, okay. Yeah, so we're going to have a checking account value that's going to store the amount of money in our checking account, right? So we'll start out with $100. And then because I'm going to be using this value in some functions down through here, I need to specify that when I reference CK account, it's a global. So this is basically saying I'm referring to this global variable right here. That way I don't have to pass it in to every function I'm writing. We'll talk about why we don't really need to do that in a second as we make a better program, but that's not really the focus right now. So anyway, we might say this right here. We might say account plus equals, or CK account plus equals the transaction amount, right? Same thing as CK account plus TX amount. I might actually write the full, I might not use the shorthand, just so the reader doesn't have to interpret anything. They should know what that means, but maybe they don't. I don't know. Anyway, you could do this, right? But what you should recognize is that if I have a transaction that's going to be a credit, there's probably more that's going to happen than just adding the amount to my account. Think about it, right? If you're really building a banking application, do you think that it's just going to have this one line of code that adds that amount to your checking account? No. So this is a great opportunity for another function, right? For another algorithm to be included in this parent algorithm. So I'll say this is going to run my deposit function. And notice I don't even have a deposit function identified yet. I'm going to build that in a second. I'm just thinking ahead about what I want this to do. All right, so then we'll say LFTX type is debit. We'll do a withdrawal. Great. Now I can think about what these two functions are going to be. So we'll say deposit. And if you think about it, what does deposit need in order to do its job? Well, it needs the transaction amount that was included with that transaction. So the amount of money that's associated with that transaction. I'm just going to call this AMT. I'll say pass. And then I'll do a withdrawal. And that'll take an AMT as well and pass. Okay. Once we've done that, we realize that our functions right here need an amount to work with. And the amount that they should be working with is this TX amount from the original call to account transaction. So I'll include that. Great. Now, deposit will need to also reference our global variable. So we'll include that right there. And then I will say, okay, CK, CK account is whatever it was before plus amount. And then I'll just say, print, let's see, we'll make an F string and we'll say amount, throw a $sign on it, put some print, decimal points on it, and we'll say deposited successfully. Great. So our first child algorithm of this parent algorithm, and I'll mark these for you, parent. Remember that the parent must have logic or math in it of some kind, I believe. So you want to at least have some kind of if statement in your parent algorithm. So this is our child 1, child 2, definition, child 2 definition. All right. And then our child algorithm must have math, or at least math in it, or logic in it at some point. At least one of them must. So one of the child algorithms must have math or logic. Okay. Go and check the rubric just to be sure you're doing what you need to do there, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. Either way, this is going to meet the requirements. So now, all right, so we built deposit because deposit's super easy, okay? I mean, deposit means you're getting money in your account, fairly straightforward, right? But withdrawal actually could be interesting because what happens when when our checking account is at a zero balance, or when our checking account goes into a negative balance, right? We can get an overdraft fee. We can get some kind of penalty on our account. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to go ahead and add in some more functionality to handle that situation. So I'll say if our CK account minus the amount, right? So we don't really care about what the checking account was originally. We want to go ahead and subtract whatever it is we're trying to withdraw, whatever the transaction amount is. We're going to withdraw that from our checking account, and we're going to see, does that put us over or under $0.00? Because if so, we're going to have an overdraft. I'll scoot this down a little bit. Overdraft detected. All right. And then we can say, all right, well, our checking account will be, we're going to subtract some penalty plus the amount. Okay, so basically we're saying we're going to take away this penalty, and we're going to take away the amount, so we can pay the vendor that we charged our card at, but we're going to assess a penalty on the account holder. And where does penalty come from? Well, we need to go up here and reference that somewhere else, and we'll say it's $25. Okay, and that's AMT. I've done it again. All right, cool. Now, we'll say print vendor paid, penalty assessed. I'm sorry about all these tooltip things showing up all the time. Okay. Otherwise, if we have enough money to cover that expense, we'll just say CK account is CK account minus amount. AMT. Again. I did it again. Okay, cool. Let's see how this works. Just as is, right? I've got 2 children and a parent. Both of those children have some math. This one has math and logic, which is great. So I'm covering every base. There's no question about it. So let's run this, and let's do an account transaction. And we'll say we'll do a debit of $25, right? Doesn't show us anything because we didn't put that in there. We'll talk about that in a second. So let's see what our CK account balance is, $25. So we subtracted $25 from our checking account. Let's do another transaction. We'll do a credit of $100. And it'll say $100 deposited successfully. Cool. I forgot to put any print statements in my withdrawal because, well, we'll look at it in a second. And we'll check our CK account. All right, so we have 175. It shows up as this boring float. No dollar signs or anything. And then let's do an account transaction of a debit that is $200. So this is over our account balance. Overdraft detected, vendor paid, penalty assessed, and if we check our account, it's negative $50. So let's do the math real quick. We had 175, we took out 200, okay, so that means that we were negative 25, plus we had a penalty of $25, so our total negative balance is $50. All right. So don't overdraft your bank account, but two, this works correctly. This meets the requirements. The last thing I would do here maybe is add in some kind of display so I can see like what my account is doing as I'm running my code. That way I'm actually, you want to, when you do your video recording, you want to be able to show that your code is doing something, and having to type in a bunch of functions probably isn't the best way to go about doing that. So what we will do is we're going to take this idea of printing out like some successful deposit, right? And instead, we're going to create a display balance function that just lets us see what's happening at each step. So I'm just going to copy this from my code on the other screen, throw this in here. There's my display balance function. It's going to show this account information title, and then it's going to show our checking balance. And again, rather than having to retype this code again and again and again, we can just grab it. We'll grab the function name, and we'll include it in our child functions. Okay, so let's try this. And maybe the first thing we'll do when we run our code is to display the balance. All right, cool. Whoops, CK account is not defined. That is because I took this from my other, there we go. Cool. This one too. Great. All right. So we start out, we have account information, checking balance is $100. We perform an account transaction of a debit of $25. Oh, I forgot to include, wait, hold on, what happened? Where's display balance? Whoops. Iterative process, okay. This is where I would take a note and say, well, my balance was not displaying when I was running my code, and I don't know why, because I included it in my withdraw function. And I would say, oh, I realized that display balance is only running if I overdraw my account, so I needed to refactor it out of the if statement and just put it at the end of the function after all the other code is run, because I always want to display my balance. All right, I'll try it again. See, I totally meant to do that. Cool. So now it shows our account information as we go. Press my up key, up arrow to do that. I'll credit it, $25. And now let's withdraw too much money. So we'll draw 125. Okay, it prints out overdraft detected, vendor paid, penalty assessed, and now we're at negative $50 in our checking account, and display balance is continuing to do its job. Okay, so what do I do once I've finished my code and I'm ready to start drawing on it with rectangles and stuff so I can meet the requirements for the written responses? Well, I'm going to take this code, I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to Google code print something. And here it is. This guy named Baker Frankie, github.io, he made this awesome AP performance task code printing tool. And if we paste our code in here, we get this awesome output that is all in PDF form. We can print it. Remember, to print as a PDF, you can just go to Save as PDF. But before you do that, you can also draw some shapes on here. So you can draw rectangles, rectangle 2, 3, oval, oval 2, 3. All right, so let me go and check my rubric or my template. So I'm going to go to Docs. Don't look at my docs. There's a bunch of secret stuff in here. Just kidding. All right. So let's see. We want to, okay, for 2C, capture and paste a program code segment that implements an algorithm marked with an oval in section 3, okay, that is fundamental for your program to achieve its intended purpose. All right, 2C, and then 2D, we're going to mark with a rectangle an abstraction you developed individually on your own. Okay, so remember, row 4, 5, and 6 all pull from 2C. So let us go and get our 2C. We're going to, what is it, an oval? All right, we're going to use an oval. So we'll say oval. All right, and I'm going to grab all of this right here. Wow, that's the worst shape for this possible. I don't know why they decided on that, but let's see. We're going to clear that oval and make a better oval. Let's try oval 2. Ovaltine. I hate it. God, okay. Let's try this one more time. All right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, there's our oval, right? And then if we want to, we can save a PDF of this. So I would just go print, save as PDF, and that would be my first submission for 2C, and I would talk about my parent and child algorithms. And then let's check our requirements for the rectangle one. So, oh, okay, this abstraction must integrate mathematical and logical concepts. So you could just go and grab the same one. So we could just do account transaction. I guess you could technically do the same one. Let's check the rubric real quick. Let's see, response 2D. Yeah, no, you can use the same one. So I would probably just grab the same one since we developed it, right? Or you could grab another one as long as it has some logic, okay? It's really up to you. This one doesn't count because it does not have any sort of logic or math, okay? These count because they have logic and math. You could just grab like the withdrawal, right? You could do that one and say like that's my algorithm that I made because it's really clearly, meeting all the requirements. All right, so there's pretty much all the tools that you need in order to get that maximum score. And that's pretty much everything I wanted to show you today. So I'm going to go ahead and switch us over to Google Meet mode. If you don't have any questions at all, you don't have to go over there, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it up. Here's the link. Right here. Go ahead and take a look at that, and I'll meet you over there in just a minute. Again, if you don't have any questions, if you're good to go, then you don't have to show up, but you can if you want to. All right. Thanks, guys.